Hey friends, welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast. Our mission is to encourage, equip, and empower every woman on her faith journey with Jesus Christ. Today we get the privilege of hearing from Pastor, Evangelist, and Professor Elise Wood. In this episode, Elise and our host Mykelti Blum talk about the lessons Elise has learned being a female in ministry. Elise is passionate about reaching the next generation for the Lord and training up young people in vocational ministry. She shares about how God is the one who calls us into ministry, and He is looking for our obedience, not a perfect performance. Elise has lots of wisdom and experiences that we know you will be incredibly blessed by. We're so excited for you to listen in on this conversation.
Well, I am really excited to have you on the podcast. So thank you for joining, and we can just jump on in. I mean, unless you have any questions, I feel like
sounds good.
I'm stoked. So thank you for joining us and welcome. And I cannot wait to hear all the things that you have for us and all of that. And would you just start out by sharing a little bit about who you are, an introduction into you and all the things you do?
Yeah. So first off, I am a wife of 14 years, literally at the end of this month. We're celebrating 14 years. Wow. My husband is incredible. Both of us are also, we're both pastors, so we're both in full-time ministry. It's been kind of our journey since we met. We both knew we were called into ministry, and it's been really cool to do that together, better together. We like to say that it was about addition for us and not completion. Like God knew who we both needed. And my husband is a huge reason I am who I am today. We have a 6-year-old little girl. She is an absolute world changer. Love her so much. And she's unique in the way that she sees people very well, but she's also strong. She has this empathy and strength combo that's very unique. And so honored to be her mom. And I also am a pastor. We planted a church this January, so we're not even a year old yet. And literally as we speak right now, so it's like early December as we're recording this, but we this weekend are moving into our permanent building. So there's a lot happening right now. It's the coolest thing. God has just so opened a door. We're actually merging with another church. We'll be their pastors as well. And so God has just opened a massive door with that. We're just super grateful for what He's done. And I also lead our nonprofit ministry called Ripple Effect, which is mostly next gen centered. It's for the purpose of the next generation walking in the fullness of their God-given calling, right? It's this recognition that the next generation is going to step into what it is that God's called them to do, not just in their God-given purpose to know God, but then to walk in that God-given purpose of making God known, to give away what it is that they've been given, right? And so this part, a lot of it has to do with the roles I've held in church ministry in the past. And most of the things that I had done up until us planting our church were college age centered or young adult centered. And so mostly what we do is work with young adults who sense a call to ministry on their lives, whether that's vocational or not, comes back to their definition of ministry and if they resonate with our vision, which happens a lot. So it's kind of across the board. We do have a lot of like young youth pastors, kids pastors, first ministry roles, but we also have a lot of those that are like, I feel called into ministry, but I'm not in it yet. But I'm just trusting God's going to lead me there. And so what we do is we walk with them, we resource them, we do cohorts twice a year, as well as offer something called membership that is ongoing support for them in their calling, so that it gives them space outside of the ministry bubble they might be serving in to feel like there's a safety and a camaraderie of community. On top of that, there's a level of accountability that takes place when you feel like you're not doing it alone. And so, you know this, but maybe some of our listeners don't, but it's the whole, it's the statistic, and you can look all of this up. Barna Research has done a whole study on this, but 50% of pastors don't make it past 5 years. It is absolutely alarming. It's unreal that it's that high. In fact, they're saying that if anything, it's climbing because ministry is just so heavy. It's so hard. And when you say first 5 years, you're talking about a lot of 20 somethings, unless you step into ministry later. Like these are young adults. And they just don't make it into even by the time they're 30, they've quit. We have so many friends that happen to our friends, and we're like, we need to bridge the gap on this. And so that's a huge reason why we built this ministry. And God's also blessed it in a way that we didn't anticipate. And we speak all across the country. And mostly it is next gen centered. It's youth and young adults, but we also do a lot of like women's events and that kind of thing as well. And God has just so blessed our yes. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's like, we knew that we were called to do this. I had written about this ministry 3 years prior in a journal. And I had all of it laid out. I had the full vision. God had spoken to me. And it wasn't until a year where it felt like kind of everything was upside down in our lives. In fact, I would go so far as to say that I think I got mad enough at the enemy that year that I was like, it's time.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm moving forward on this. And so one thing led to another. And seriously, like it was within 4 months, we had the ministry launched. We were a 501c3. Our 501c3 status, we got back in like 4 weeks, which doesn't happen.
Wow. No, it doesn't.
It was crazy. It's been just a roller coaster in the best way. God was almost like, all right, watch me. I want you to hold on. I'm going to carry you. And I'm taking this to a place that it's not rooted in you. It's me. You're going to rely on me. You're going to be dependent. Because this was in a season of my life when I didn't feel like I had it all together. I was still battling a lot of health issues. And I just remember telling the Lord, like, I'm not sure that this is something that I can really quite handle, when he started opening up all of these more doors for speaking. And it was just kind of getting to a level that I didn't see to take place. And God was like, that's why you're ready. You know how to depend on me now. And it's not going to be rooted in you. It's something that you're going to learn to just solely rely on me. And it's going to be out of me that you're going to see a level of anointing you haven't yet walked in. And that is like, it's been the result of the impact that we've seen across the country. Thousands of lives changed. I mean, we see it up close. I mean, that's what's so cool about it. It's just because it comes back to this like obedient step to just trust God and say yes to the call that he'd placed on our lives. And so, yeah, there's a couple different hats that I wear, but for the most part, my main and primary roles are as a wife and a mom, and they're my favorite roles. Very, very proud to be a mom to this little world changing girl, and she loves ministry too, which says a lot. So that's what we want.
It does say a lot. Yeah. I'm just sitting here listening to you. I'm like, wow, she must be so bored. She has nothing going on. No,
no, it's great. It's God's grace, day by day, but also margin, which is important. So we've learned how to take care of ourselves as well, and say yes to the right things, and say no to the things that maybe you're not quite right for right now. Not that they're wrong, but they're just not right. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. I love all the things you're doing. And I feel like what you just said is truly a perfect segue into what I was hoping to connect on today. And Kristen and Angie were the ones who were like, oh, Pastor Elise, I don't know if you're familiar with her. Like, you should follow her. We'd love to have her on a podcast. And so I started looking at your Instagram, as what we do now in modern culture, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And you had this post that just immediately stuck out to me. And honestly, I found myself, as I was doing all the swiping, like, yep, amen, as I was looking through it, because I think it is so relevant and so important for today, and just for ministry and as leaders in ministry. And it was on August 5th, I even found, or not specifically 5th, it was August. Wouldn't that be great if I had the specific date?
It would be next level. It'd be impressive.
It was 5 things I've learned as a female in ministry. Yeah. And of course that resonated with me personally as also a female in ministry, but I think it was just so powerful for anybody who is navigating ministry, and just the heightened piece of it. And someone to, as you were just sharing, is all of a sudden getting all of these opportunities that are coming up. And I think we have, if I'm just being brutally honest here, we've seen in our culture a little bit of celebrity Christianity, where people are getting to like, oh, these well-known authors and speakers and traveling, making all this money. And we are human. So we have to guard our heart. We have to guard our mind. And I think you explained all that beautifully. So if you're okay, I would love to just walk through the things that you talked about, and just have you share a little bit about what the heart was behind it and encouragement around it.
Yeah, let's do it. Absolutely. Love it.
The first one you said, people don't call you, God does. So what was it that called you into ministry, and God calling you into ministry, and where did this statement come from for you?
Yeah, my journey has been a little bit unique. I'm a pastor's kid, an AG pastor's kid. And my parents were always unbelievably supportive of the call in my life. In fact, I would go so far as to say that my call started in 1995. I was 5 years old, and we were at a youth summer camp in Georgia district. My dad was the DYD there at the time. And there was a speaker that night who had given a call to the altar. And before he really even called students forward, I remember I just ran forward. I'm like, I just want more of Jesus. And it was in that moment that the Lord really I mean, first off, that was the night that I spoke in tongues for the first time, received the baptism of the Holy Spirit. I mean, there was just this fire that came over me that I couldn't shake. And I remember when I finally kind of came to, my dad was over me trying to protect me from all these towering teenagers that weren't going to step on his 5-year-old. He's like trying to protect me. But I remember I kind of came to and I was like, I need to pray for teenagers. Like, I don't remember how I would have said it to my dad, but I just remember thinking like, I have to pray for them now. And it's such a perfect depiction of what it looks like then to know God and then to make God known. I use this all the time, but like when you really break this down, it is so unbelievably rich because knowing God is how we make God known. We often go to the second part and we want to function in that, which would look like, this is what I do. These are my roles. These are my positions. But really it's out of the identity of who we are. That what we do is a byproduct of our identity, and it's rooted in whose we are. It makes us who we are, right? I'm thinking about what it looked like for me in that moment in 1995 at this summer camp to get more of God. I was knowing God in that moment, and out of knowing him, I had this passion, this desire to make him known. I had to give it away, right? Like this filling that I just received was meant to be shared and given away. What's the point of filling up if you don't give it away, right? Like that's the whole point, to fill up and then give it away, and then more so, right? I start laying hands on these teenagers. My dad's carrying me around the altar. We're watching them get filled with the Spirit as well. And I just remember that in that moment, I was turning 6 that summer. And I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do with my life. And at 5 years old, I'm like, man, my daughter is 6. I'm like, it's crazy. Cause I'm like, they're still so little. Like she is so young, but I remember it so vividly. And this is when that passion in my life, that fire that I couldn't really quite shake, it got a hold of me. And that's not to say that, certainly over the years, especially like my high school years, I really wasn't fully living for the Lord for a couple of years there. Sports were my focus. I was really throwing myself into all the sports I was playing. And it was just like, this is my life. I don't care about anything else. Finally, God got a hold of me. I was at Evangel University, and I, at the time, was studying journalism as my major. And it wasn't even because I was running from God so much as I was just like, this isn't practical. What does ministry actually mean? And again, I'm a PK. So it's not like I wouldn't have had no encouragement but my parents were also like, she's 19 years old. She needs to figure this out. And I entered into a crisis of faith season. I got really, really sick. We're talking like my liver was shutting down. I barely remember it. I had 104-degree fever for 19 days straight. When I tell you, like, I don't remember it. I was that sick. I was in and out of the emergency room, and they were testing me for everything that they could. They did not figure out what was going on, but they knew it was viral. They just didn't know which virus. And they're like, we just have to believe she's going to get better because her liver is shutting down. And this could be life-threatening if she doesn't get better. And I had just finished my first semester at Evangel. Again, I had been studying journalism. It was about 6 weeks later, after I seemingly started to get better, the virus went away. But then I began to lose all of the hair on my head, like coming out in chunks. Like we're talking not like the, hair that we might rub on the shower wall. Okay. Like this isn't like that level of, it was like, something's wrong. Like this is not normal. I found myself in a dermatologist's office, and he looked at me and he's like, you have an autoimmune condition. It's called alopecia. And you've probably had this your whole life. It's just something that this virus activated, and you're going to battle this for the rest of your life. And so at 19 years old, I was being told I was never going to have hair again. And I entered into this crisis of faith. Like, who am I? What am I here for? What does this mean? God, what did I do to deserve this? And it was in this season of my life that God truly opened my eyes. I wouldn't say it was even on the other side, because there is that. I'll get to that in a second. But I think it was in the middle of the mess, in the middle of like, why me? In the middle of having my head between my knees on a bathroom floor, crying my eyes out and screaming to Jesus, why am I dealing with this? Like, I don't understand why I'm in the middle of this craziness. And I don't feel like I did anything. I thought I was serving you. I thought I followed you, making it about me, making it about my performance, and me somehow proving to the Lord that I didn't deserve what it was that I was going through, and he was using it. And reminded me of that fire in that season. By August of the following year, I was about 80% bald. I lost like all of the hair on the sides of my head. Like everything was gone. Pretty much everything in the back was completely gone. And the week that we were in Detroit, Michigan for National Fine Arts Festival that year. And my little sister had been sharing a bed with me that week in our hotel room, and she nudged me. It was interesting. The night before I had hands laid on me, and the speaker of the youth convention the night before, she prophesied over my life and said that I would be healed. She also spoke over my life other things that I'm just now walking out. I'm 35 now. And in my 30s, I'm seeing the fruition of some of the prophetic words she spoke over me at 19. But the following morning, my sister woke me up, nudged me, Elise, you need to go look in the mirror. Go look in the mirror. And I remember I got up, I ran into the bathroom, and overnight I had little hair growing back on my head. And when I tell you at 35, this is my hair. Like, I've never lost my hair again. I went back to the doctor who diagnosed me, and he was like, don't worry, it'll fall out again. Unfortunately, this is just going to be your story. Anytime that you experience sickness, anytime that you walk through a stressful season, one day when you have a baby, your hair will fall out. It's never happened again. And again, through that season, I changed my major to biblical studies at Evangel University. And that's when I began. I was like, okay, it's time. It's time to get to work. Because it was just through that whole like crisis of faith season of something I didn't want to have to go through. I wouldn't want to relive it. But God opened my eyes and he lit that fire in me. And with this question, this post, like, obviously this was a carousel post. One of the first things I thought of when I was writing this is this was like I sat down for 10 minutes and just wrote something out. And so it's funny the way that God used it. This mention of people not calling us, but God calling us. And I'm sharing a lot with you, but just to give like the short version, the first place that we started to serve in ministry, I was not actually hired in a position. I saw ministry in that phase of my life. I hadn't yet pursued a credential. I had just graduated from college. We moved across the country to a new place of new people, new community, everything. And my husband was hired as a youth pastor at this church, and I was not. And we saw ministry as doing it together. And so what happened in that first phase of ministry for me was that I didn't have a position and a title. And I quickly, without like getting into the details, let me just say this. We were functioning under leadership that did not promote women in ministry. They were not okay with it. Ironically enough, it was an AG church, but they were not AG by belief. It's just how they functioned. And there were a lot of comments made. And in fact, it was against the will of my pastor for me to pursue a credential. It was through my credentialing interview that I met the pastor that we ended up moving away from the existing first church that we were at. 10 months later, we're working for this pastor that I interviewed under with my credentialing interview. And literally he looked at me, he's like, the call in your life is tangible. It is so real. And we were only at that first church for 10 months. When we talk about like ripple effect in the heart of that, please understand my heart is because I almost was one of those. My husband and I went through such a difficult 10 months. It wasn't just because of theological belief differences. It was like other things. It was just a really hard situation for us. And so when we moved up north to a different church and worked with this other pastor, he hired both of us. And it was the first season of our lives where I really had to realize in my 20s, because what happened from that was then this stemmed experience of, oh, well, you know, I'm being told women can't do ministry. And so now I'm hired. I have to probably prove that I can and show people why this is a thing. And so I almost felt like I was working way too hard and it was coming out of a place of like, I need to prove, I need to perform. And I very quickly realized that this is something, it's almost in hindsight, you learn as you go. And again, this is over 10 years ago now. But I feel like as things have developed and as we've looked back on those seasons, it's like, man, I knew how unhealthy that was, not while I was in it, but on the other side. And then realizing that there was never going to be any sort of significance rooted in my ability to perform for some person to see my calling when really God was the one who called. Yeah. It was only it was going to be first off rooted into him, based in him, and that he alone would get the glory, right? Like the other side of that is, unfortunately, it does cause us to buck up. And the temptation is to start performing. And what we're doing at that point is we're off mission because we're making ministry about us. Ministry is about us. Ministry is about ministry that's represented. Like there's a need, right? Like people don't call us, God calls us because he asks us to be a part of his plan. Technically, God doesn't even need us. He chooses to use us. And so that alone is like, man, like you talk about disposition of heart. Like I'm going to enter into this with this position of, God, you could do this on your own, but you choose to use me. And so my alignment with your heart then allow me to live in a position where I just might be rooted in you, founded in you, base my significance in you, despite what it is that I do. That's just a byproduct of who I am. I learned this in my 20s. It was like, ministry is not what I do. It's who I am. Based on whose I am. And so regardless of roles or titles or things that we merely steward, we don't own positions, we don't own titles, we steward them. There's a huge difference. And if I'm not the owner, then I can steward it because God's just placed something in my hands that's his. And if I see it as his, then I can focus on stewarding it and not shouldering it, which by the way is a whole other thing, because some people may need to hear this. We're like, maybe they're carrying the weight of ministry right now that they were never meant to carry. That weight isn't ours, it's God's. Yeah. It takes the pressure off of us. It also then removes this I mean, call it what you will, an insecurity to feel like we have to perform or to prove why we're able to do what it is that only God has called us to do to begin with. Right. There's so many things I could share about what our journey looked like in that season, but I don't want to spend too much time on this one, but it's interlaced with just my journey.
Hey friend, do you love being in community and getting encouragement from other women? Join us at the 2026 Thrive Conference on October 9th through 10th at the Mayo Civic Center in Rochester, Minnesota. It'll be a weekend of worship, powerful messages, shopping, and fun for women of all denominations, ages 12 and up. The Thrive Conference is designed to help encourage, equip, and empower every woman on her faith journey with Jesus Christ. Hear from featured guests like Lisa Bevere, Christina Girma-Hanfere, Martha Tennison, Susie Larson, and Substance Worship. The adult early bird deadline is August 31st, and tickets are just $20 for first-time attendees to Thrive. Also, 2026 high school graduates are eligible for a free ticket. Visit our website at btgthriveconference.org to register or get more information about Thrive 2026. You really won't want to miss out on this incredible weekend, so grab your friends and we'll see you there.
I'm just so grateful that you shared all of that, because I think that can be so relatable for so many people. And what an important reminder to not be discouraged when you feel like the person maybe in ministry who hired you or something along those lines, there's something wrong there. Something doesn't align and things like that, to not be discouraged, because again, like you said, God was the one who called you. God was the one who you could say, quote, hired you for that, not this person. Not be discouraged. But it's the perfect segue. You started talking about this a little bit, of that second point where positions are not the goal, posture is. And I truly love this, because it's something I've become really passionate about in this last year too, of it is not about your fame. It's not about your title, but what are you doing for God, and who are you pointing to? Are you pointing to yourself, or are you pointing every single person to God? So I would love to hear you share a little more about that too, of just, and even like, have you ever had that come up where you started to feel yourself like striving for, oh, look at what I'm doing, and have to maybe even like repent, be like, no, actually, Lord, it's not about me? Because I think all leaders fall into that at some point, because we're human.
No, I so resonate with that. It's interesting, because even with this, so I think my mind just goes to just the whole journey of even my calling in general, right? Like, you can talk to a lot of people, and, especially in young adult era, or maybe even teenagers, like they can have this experience at a summer camp and they're like, I feel called to be a youth pastor. You know what I mean? And like, they'll give you like some role or whatever. I never had that. I wasn't like one of those that felt like a departmental call to ministry, but I did know the things that made me feel the most alive I've ever felt in my life. And I knew what kind of fire was in me and what that then would maybe look like fleshed out. Right. One of the things that I knew that was there was an evangelistic call in my life. And for so long, like, I talk about it openly now, but if you had talked to me even 6 years ago, I wouldn't say out loud, I am an evangelist. I wouldn't have said that, because I think there was like a level of false humility at play a little bit, where it was almost like I erred on the opposite side of like, well, what if it comes off like I'm just trying to promote myself? And I remember
that is such a big struggle.
It's a whole thing. Like when we launched Ripple Effect, there was a guy I was working with that kind of helped us. He like designed a lot of our branding and like got our logo up for us, but it was also like consulting. We were like talking back and forth, and he was challenging me. He's like, Elise, at some point you have to get over yourself and start posting the stuff that you talk about. Like, when are you going to like get over yourself? Like, okay, well, and I'm responding like, well, I just think like it kind of can come off like self-promotion. And he's like, what? Like, think about what you're saying. Like, just for a second, take a step back. And I want you to consider, what is social media? Like, are you using it just as a stage for yourself, or are you using it as the platform that God has instilled for you to be able to share with people that maybe wouldn't be in the same room as you at one point? Like, are you going to lean into the influence that is there, or are you going to just cower back and be like, oh, well, that's going to come off like, because then that's just a perception driven decision anyways. That is insecurity. Call it what you will. It's just like flipped, right? It's this like, it is like, and honestly, even pride is rooted in that. I just think like I had to get challenged. Like my husband was just doing the same thing, and he's still on me about things. He's like, when are you gonna, do this, and this? Like, I'm waiting for it. I'm like, I'm selling your merch. He's been joking around for years. He said this for years. I'm gonna follow you, and we're gonna sell your merch. And he does. He travels with me, and I'm preaching, and he's also a pastor. But he celebrates and champions, and he sells the merch now. Like, it's the funniest thing, and he'll joke around about it. But for so long, I cowered back. I was afraid of how it might come off. And it's like, man, life is too short. Like, can I just relieve somebody of that for a second that maybe is listening to this? Like, I feel like someone needs to hear this. It is such a significant season that we are living in right now.
Yeah.
And the days are short. We only have a certain amount of time, a very small window. And let's be real, we all sense it. Like, we're probably very much so, we're living in the last days. There's work to do. This isn't just about like twiddling our thumbs and getting by and receiving a paycheck and getting comfortable. At some point, we have to stand up, get on the front lines, and the stuff that comes with the front lines, we have to be okay with. It's what you said a few minutes ago when you were referencing like, like the stuff with celebrity pastor culture. It is real. I think that some of the people who have been given some of that influence isn't because they chased it. And certainly there is, unfortunately, a level of that. And unfortunately, some of the American mentality of ministry, climb the ladder. I want more influence. If I do this, then maybe this will happen. Connect the dots. Oh, I network, but not because I value people, but because I want more influence and more opportunity. Maybe they'll ask me to speak. Gross. Like, we need to get past that. No, there's the mission's too important. Yeah. Like, we're making ministry about ourselves. It's crazy to me. I'm like, if you really do take a step back, and that's why it's funny too, because with us, well, people say like, how in the world do you have a church plant? And you guys felt like you're supposed to lead a church. And on top of this, you're leading this nonprofit ministry and traveling and speaking. Like, how? Like, I don't even understand that. And there are honestly some people who are kind of disapproving about it. They would kind of look down on us for it. And we're like, okay, that's fine. You don't have to get it. But what we understand is that we have one very short life to live. And I want to be on mission. And the mission for our family is the same mission. It's just two different expressions. We know our mission as a family, and we walk in that. And so anyway, I know that there's a lot we could say about this, but I just think that there's two sides to the equation, right? Where it's like, call it what you will, but pride is insecurity, and insecurity can be fleshed out in one of two ways. You either can puff up with pride and think that ministry is about you and make it about your platform, make it about yourself, you're receiving the glory. Or the alternative to that is you cower back in fear because you're afraid of what people think, and you don't want to be perceived as trying to stoke the fire of recognition or of perform. I don't know. I mean, call it what you will, but it can be fleshed out in more than one way. And I think that this is where it just comes down to like, this is what Paul talks about even in the New Testament, but it's like, if I'm going to die to me, I'm choosing to do it every day. Because my natural inclination is probably not going to align with the heart of God. It's just not. Like, I have to be rooted in him. It's going to take me. One thing I say every time before I speak and every time before I take a microphone, I don't care if I'm preaching to 15 people or if I'm preaching to 5,000. And before I take a microphone, I remind myself of this. I have nothing to prove. I'm not here to perform. In you, I can. And in the name of Jesus, I will. I'm reminding myself that I'm not doing it in me. I'm relying on the one who got me into the room, because I'm not knocking this. I have a lot of evangelist friends who they do, they'll circle back or text people or, hey, I have these dates open. I've never done that. Not one time. And it's not because I think it's wrong. It's just, this isn't what's right for me. Yeah. And every door that God has opened is because he opened it. And I know that then if I'm in a room and I'm taking a microphone, regardless of how big or small that room might be, I know that I'm doing it because God called me to be there and that I'm on assignment. And that then means that I'm there to steward an assignment that he will equip me for in the moment. And so it's just, it's posture. Like, it's, what is my disposition? I've said this for years, but it's like head up, knees down, head up, knees down, open hands. and give me open hands that can carry a full cup. Like, give me open, steady hands, God. If you're going to put a cup in my hands, I pray you'd fill it to overflowing, but give me steady hands to carry it. Like, not in me, but in you. Like, I need to lean. And I know that I need to lean. I need him. I can't do it on my own. You know, I think that's where, I think honestly, that's where like the most incredible, effective ministry lies. It's on how dependent we are on God. Truly,
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. And I think you just answered to a very prominent question that I hear all the time from people in ministry of the self-promotion aspect. I don't want to seem like it's about me. I don't want it to feel prideful. Yep. I have personally struggled with that, where I don't want to post it because I don't want to seem like I'm making it about me. But what is the posture of your heart? Is your heart to promote yourself, or is your heart to glorify God and lead people to him? And that goes, right into that. Another one of your points was performance won't earn anything. It'll only distract you from being effective. And I think that's huge because of that performative spirit can come out. And I'm sure you have seen this, just like have I seen it. Sometimes you hear people preach or you see people preach and you're like, it feels just like this is a performance, but where's the heart? Where's God? So I'd love for you to share a little more about that, with that performance won't earn anything, but it'll only distract you from being effective.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about, and I kind of referenced this a few minutes ago, but like, I think that where we can lean into it is this understanding of like, is ministry based on me, or is it based on God in me? Because if I perform, it's because I'm making it about me. Yeah. I mean, think about it. Like, there's no other explanation. You are centering ministry on you if you are trying to perform. If you find yourself performing, you're making it about you. And that is automatically going to put you off mission, because what is the mission? The mission is people. Is the mission people, or is the mission performance? Is the mission people, or is the mission a microphone? Is the mission people? I mean, think about it. Even like, so it's funny because we can talk about calling all day long. And like, this is something we do with Ripple Effect students, because we're helping them to understand and identify what is ministry. And then their mind might automatically go to a type or a methodology of ministry. Preaching is a methodology. That's not my calling. My calling isn't preaching. Preaching is a methodology of my calling. My calling is the people represented by the preaching.
It's so good.
Am I preaching to a wall, or am I preaching to the people in the room? Right? Like, this isn't about me holding a microphone and preaching. That's not the call. The call is to the people that are represented by the words that will be spoken, that yes, are anointed by God, when the position of your heart, when the posture of your spirit is to keep God first. And then yes, absolutely, he can use you. Because let's be real, less of me, more of him, more of me, less of him. Yeah. Like, if I make room for him, then he will speak. But if I'm in the way, okay, I'm toast. I just hit my cap. Like, that is my capacity, right? Like, that's the ceiling. I've decided my own ceiling because I'm deciding that ministry is about me. I think that's what I was referencing even when I was writing this. It's like just this understanding of being off mission if you're performing, right? Like, it's only, and here's what it comes down to. We can't perform our way into mattering.
That's
you can't perform your way into significance. Yeah. I mean, let's go back to the gospel for a second. Like, I love this so much because, like, I think it brings it alive for people. Like, if calling is also a representation of like salvation, if it starts there with knowing God, out of knowing him, I can then make him known. I can't make him known. I'm trying to manufacture it if I don't first know him. And salvation starts with this understanding of it being less of me, and it wasn't based on anything I could have done to earn it. Isn't that why Jesus came? While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. That there is this payment that had to be made that we could have never paid on our own. Like, if that's going to be the premise of my entire foundation for what it looks like to walk with Jesus, then why on this planet would I be tempted to make ministry something that salvation even isn't? If my walk, my faith is rooted in a God who did something on my behalf that I could have never done, why on this planet would I then make my calling something that is the polar opposite of that? So again, I think that we can err on that. And call it what you will, but like, this goes in a whole other kind of side of the conversation. But I think that a lot of us that are women in ministry, unfortunately, we have experienced pain. And I don't want to denote that. I don't want to invalidate pain. I think that pain is valid. I think that pain needs to be dealt with, because what happens is that hurting people hurt people, and healed people heal poor people. But I think that when we're hurting, we bleed on people even if we don't realize we're doing it.
Right. Yep.
And so that pain has to be dealt with. All of us have it. I very, very few friends that I have that are also like, other women in ministry that are like, they don't have some type of story. I mean, I can still, to this day, I'll travel if I'm in a new district or something in a place I haven't been. I'll have someone like backstage say something. If you get too nervous, hand me the microphone. Some guy saying this to me before I take a mic. I'm like, you would never say this to me if I was a guy. Like, you just wouldn't, like it's just a part of it. Like they just assume that we don't know what we're doing or that we're, whatever, right? Like any of the stereotypes that come with this, I think are a part of the conversation, because I think out of pain births performance. Like for me, the performing that I did in my 20s was out of my pain.
Yep.
It was the first place I was at for 10 months when the pastor said, no, you can't be in ministry. You're a female. No, you can't go get your credential. Why are you going to do that? You have no reason to get a credential. Like all of those things innately did something in me that I had to deal with. And until I dealt with it, I was still probably bleeding on people, even if it didn't look like the same thing, because I was overcompensating. I remember, I use this analogy a lot, but I had 2 college students standing at my doorway in my office at the church that I was first working. I was their college director, right? So like my whole job was to invest in them. Anything I would have been working on would have been for them. And they're standing in my office doorway trying to get my attention. And I remember I was in the middle of something. I couldn't even tell you what I was working on. And I just remember thinking that they were like kind of inconveniencing me in the moment. And I'm like, hey, I need you to come back. Let's set up a meeting. I use it so much now because I'm like, how messed up was that? That the very people that I was called to impact, the very thing that I would have been working on, whatever I was doing on my computer, was for them, standing in my office doorway. And I saw them in that moment as an inconvenience to the project I was working on, when they are the project. People are the mission. Yeah. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. Like we've got to get back to center on why we do what we do. It's not what we do, but why we do it. And by the way, when the what feels really mundane, it's the why that keeps us going. You talk about people quitting in ministry. Yeah, you'll quit when it's hard if you're making it about only what it is that you do all the time. This isn't just about what you do. What you do is because of why you're doing it. Yeah. It's always going to be people centered. It's going to come back to the mission of why we're still alive. Like if this was just about knowing God, we'd already be with him. There's work to do. That's so good. It's about multiplication, right? Like giving away what we've been given. It's disciples making more disciples. It's the Great Commission. It's Matthew 28:19, you know? So I could talk about this forever. I really could. I am so passionate about this stuff. I just am.
Yeah. And I love that you share that thing, the ritual that you do before you go on stage, because it's an important reminder of, when we're going on it, and especially that part about, it's not about the mic. It's the people. It's not trying to find that. It's how can we get more people just to understand Jesus and to live for the kingdom of God. And, especially one of your other points was God doesn't call you to prove anything. He calls you to serve well. My ritual before I step on a stage to preach, or again, doesn't matter where it is I always say, not my words, but yours, because it's that same thing. I have nothing to prove. Yes. I have nothing to go up here. And I used to feel so consumed in just being vulnerable. And every time I would preach, I just would feel so insecure and worry about, did people like it? What did they think? And I would go sit down and talk to my husband. I would say, how did that go? It used to be every time I would say that. And he goes, why does it matter what other people think? Like it is, what does God say? How did you say what you were supposed to say? Yes. Okay. Then it went well, and for him to say
it's
that,
really good.
It's like, did you say what you felt called to say? And that is how you measure how it went. And I think that's so important and goes right into that point of God doesn't call you to prove anything. He calls you to serve well. So can you just share a little bit about what your heart is for that?
Yeah. This post was also centered on like being a female in ministry, right? Because like, I think that you can go broad with this, like this could be for anyone, but I think that this one specifically, like for me, my mind goes to this understanding of like, it's kind of what I was talking about a few minutes ago of, the pain causing us then to perform. And I think that this need to prove can exist in some circles if there is a level of unhealed pain at play, right? Like we've all experienced people that are like this, where it's like, oh, women in ministry, you know what I mean? But it's like, yeah, we're for that. Yes. But like, that's not why we're in ministry. We're not in ministry to prove why we can be in ministry. That's like I don't know about you, but like, what a lame reason. You know what I mean? Like, I'm good. Like, I'd already rather be in heaven with the Lord, just like in paradise. I'm good. That's not the goal. The goal is not to prove to the world why women can do this. And I'm not saying that there's not a place for it. I think that there are voices out there. I think about like the Todd Corpies who have written like Your Daughter Shall Prophesy, right? Like these types of books, these resources, these voices are needed. But I think that we can get in the weeds a little bit too much as females sometimes if we're focused so much on the cause of women in ministry, more so than we're saying, actually, the cause of ministry is the mission of ministry. And God called us not because he wants us to prove why we can. He called us because there's work to do, period. Which then means that there's work to do wherever you are. Like, I just think that there's also, I think we need to die to like this mentality of like, you know, ministry being what makes us significant, or that we can find meaning in, again, what it is that we do or the positions we hold or how much influence we might have. Well, all of us have influence. We just have it in our own way, regardless of whether or not you're in vocational ministry or not. This isn't about just like somehow people in vocational ministry matter more. I think that I just think it's so unhealthy. I think that we need to die to that hierarchy. I do think there's a standard of living that's higher for those who say, let's be real. Like we see that in the pastoral epistles in the New Testament. There's a reason that those standards are laid out. Those guidelines, those parameters are there for a reason. Yeah. And certainly the standard needs to be higher because we're multiplying influence. Those of us who hold influence, we need to be evaluating what it is that we're multiplying. This is a self-evaluation conversation. Like, what is it that I'm multiplying? Is it worth multiplying? And I need to be holding myself to that standard. I need to not, again, striving for performance, but just striving for God honoring ministry, period. Right? Like, am I honoring the Lord? And I think that we just have to keep ministry the main thing. I again, it goes back to like the conversation on it being mission centered, this being focused on people. It's people over programs all day long, people over positions, people over titles. Your position in ministry, if you work in a local church, wouldn't even exist if it weren't for people. That's what's ironic. So like, I think that, and again, please understand my heart. I'm coming from the position of like, I invest in young adults and college students and a lot of like 18, 19-year-old somethings who are like, I'm called to ministry. I want to be a youth pastor. I want to be a worship pastor. I'm going to be like Carrie Job. I'm going to be like, and it's like, okay, we love that, but let's take a step back and let's talk about what ministry is. Okay. Because you're already doing ministry the moment that you love people well. Yeah. That's what's so cool. Like each of us looks like Jesus when we just love like Jesus. And that is what it looks like to serve well. Serving well doesn't look like standing on a stage with a microphone and everyone looking at you, bowing down to you. Serving well looks like, how well have I gotten on the level? Like you want to talk about like pastoral ministry for a second. It's the whole, you know, pastors, they are shepherds, and shepherds, they smell like their sheep. They know they're sheep. They smell like sheep because they're with the sheep. They see the sheep. They're up close. They're face to face. They're right here. In fact, like there's so many analogies. I mean, there are tons of books I could recommend, like The Way of the Shepherd. I think it's his last name is Lemon. They Smell Like Sheep, like by Lynn Anderson. These books are books I reread consistently because they help me to keep, again, the main thing. I'm like, if I'm going to do ministry well, if I'm going to shepherd people, how well am I caring for people? That is the definition of what it means to be a pastor. How well do you love? Do you love well? And loving well can be walked out in responsibility. But what's funny is that positions are simply an indicator of responsibility, whereas relationship is where there's influence. We think positions are influence. Yes. A lot of the 18-year-olds that I mentor, they think that positions are influence. Platforms are influence, when really, actually, relationship is influence. And you only get relational by, you only get that relational side by relational equity, right? Like it's how well do I love? How much investment am I making? Am I making it about me or am I making it about them? Again, people are the mission all day long. So like it all of this is like, it's connected, the same conversation. But I just think that for the context of women in ministry, I think first off need to deal with our pain. And I think it's healthy for each of us to have an outlet get a therapist, talk to somebody, find a Christian counselor where you can vent the things and process and heal what you need to heal. The trauma that you've walked through, like, it needs to be dealt with. And even if you're not 50% better overnight, you can be 1% better tomorrow.
Join us for BTG's 2027 missions trip to Cambodia and Vietnam. You can choose to serve with us in Cambodia only from March 13th through the 22nd, or continue with us to Vietnam until March 26th. You can apply for either trip option by visiting mnbtg.org/trips. We'd love if you would prayerfully consider joining us as we share the hope of Christ in these countries.
Why does this matter? It's more than just about ourselves. It's like, if my calling isn't just to know God in relationship and get filled and have this daily commitment to him, and I'm not knocking any of that, but it's like, at some point I've got to give it away and I've got to walk on mission, and the other things in my life that could possibly be hindering me from being effective, I want to deal with those things. I want to be as healthy as I can possibly be. Yeah. And I do think that that's where this lies, right? Like, I think that there's a freedom in ministry when you're not so focused on proving your worth, proving you can, proving why women can do this, proving the theology. Again, time and place. I'm not saying that there isn't a point to it, but I just think that it is a disposition of heart conversation. We know the difference. Like, we know when it's unhealthy. Am I bucking up at something? Like, I mean, I can protect my eyes from what I read on social media with the people who disagree. I know that that's not going to encourage me. So why would I read it? You know what I mean? I'm not. And like, what's the point of me getting online and arguing with a random troll on the internet? Probably not going to convince them over the internet. No. But I can walk with the people in my world and in the influence that I carry, not again to convince them of something, but to just love them well, because I'm on mission.
Yeah. So good. And living in that confidence. That's just what I hear over and over throughout this conversation of what it looks like to truly live in the confidence of what God has called you to and who he has called you to be. And that goes perfectly into that final point of yours of ministry isn't a competition. It's a collaborative ministry. And I think that you got to have some confidence, right? When you're navigating feelings of comparison. I mean, it just trickles right into that conversation. So, you know, it's kind of just speaking to that a little bit of what does that look like to see ministry as a collaborative piece and a collaborative ministry instead of the competition?
Yeah. I love this one because it's certainly easier said than done. I think that we all have felt at times that maybe there wasn't a seat at the table for us. Or maybe there was one seat and it looked like tokenism. And that was unfortunate because there was maybe a seat that wanted to be filled, which we appreciate the intentionality. Like, I'm not knocking that. I've had a lot of different individuals I've spoken for say, hey, you're the first female speaker we've ever had at this event before. Okay, awesome. I love that. But then they'll also say something and add to it. And they'll say something along the lines of, but we're not here just to have you because you're a female speaker. We're here because we have you here because we know that you're going to bring the word, you're anointed, you're whatever, right? That's like, that's encouraging. As much as I'm like, I love the intentionality. What this comes down to is like, if we really do look back at our own journeys, and especially those of us who have been in ministry for some time, most of us have had some type of story of an experience where maybe we felt like we weren't seen, or that we worked really hard and it was maybe not recognized or appreciated, or maybe we were underneath a leader who was really insecure and they never affirmed us. Maybe they never gave us any sort of encouragement. And then innately what that's going to do in you is that you're going to try to find safety moving forward in the opposite of what that then felt like, right? Where it's like, okay, where's my place? Like, how does this affect me? Like, again, it's very me centered. Like, I'm trying to protect myself from the pain that I felt before. And in order to do that, I don't want to put myself in rooms where I'm going to be looked at as like a token, or maybe I'm competing with my other token sister, so to speak, where it's like, oh, there's one seat at the table for the female, so who's getting it? It's unfortunate that this is a part of the journey that so many of us have experienced before. And I'm not saying that that's across the board, and it's certainly not like a one size fits all. It's not black and white. I think this is like where the gray area lives. But I just think that there's room for each of us. And I think that that's something that we have to decide we'll walk in. Like you have to decide and tell yourself, remind yourself, if God has called me, he's called me for such a time as this. And I know that something as significant as the Great Commission of Jesus Christ, like You talk about like a calling. I mean, I feel like if I were picturing myself as a disciple that was receiving this final commission from Jesus, I'd be like, okay, wait, hold on. Now you're leaving. You're telling us that we have this you want us to go into all nations? Can we, like, are you sure it's not just right here? Like, do you want us to just like focus on the street that we're on right now? Like, can we focus just on maybe like Jerusalem? Like, you want us to go into Samaria and to Judea and the rest of the ends of the earth? Are you sure? Like, that's a significant, grand calling. Like, that feels way too big for me. But then that's when Jesus stepped in. And again, this is where like, I'm going to circle back even on what I said before. He steps in, he says, well, I'm going to go, but I'm leaving you something better. Stay here until you receive this gift. What does he do? He empowers them with his spirit.
Yeah.
You're not doing it in you. You're doing it in me. And out of knowing me, because I'm going to know you. I'm going to cover you from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, and I'm going to empower you, and you're going to do it in me. And then out of that knowing me, you'll make me known. That's how you're going to fulfill this commission that's way too big for you. And by the way, this is where I'm going with this. This is not just one disciple. This is so important because I think about like, I'm like, man, if the Great Commission is as big as it is, because it is big, it's why we're still here. 2000 years later, we still haven't had the return of Jesus, and it's coming, but it's not here yet. And it's because we are waiting until everyone has had the chance to hear. Yeah. And it takes every single one of us saying yes collectively. God, I will be who it is you are calling me to be. What I do is a byproduct of who you have called me to be. This is not about what I do. This is not about fighting for position or titles. Because again, seat at the table is position. We're not talking about positions. We're talking about calling. And your calling is your identity. What you do is based on who you are. God, I know you are going to lead me, that I will be who it is that you are calling me to be. And out of that identity, I can do what you place in my hands. And I'm not fighting for it. I'm not going to strive for it. I'm not trying to compete or compare. No, same team. In fact, I would argue so much like you're off mission if you can't see it as the same team. I know that's intense, but like, I believe it. You are off mission if all you can do is compete, because what you are failing to recognize is that this is not at all a competition. The only way to fulfill the mission is if you do it collaboratively and collectively. It takes each of us saying yes, same team, on mission, each of us saying, God, I'm going to do what it is you called me to do because I am who it is that you have called me to be. Right. Amen. And I think that, again, it's unfortunate. It's a part of, I want to like humanize it because it is like a part of the journey, unfortunately, for so many of us. But I just think that you don't have to stay there. Yeah. You don't have to stay there. Your pain's valid, but at some point you need to decide that you're going to move forward from it. Yeah. Don't wallow in it. You're not a victim, right? Like God has called you to be more than that. That's the enemy lying to you. If they got this and I didn't, okay, that's valid. Your pain's valid. Don't let the enemy win. The mission's too important. So same team, collaborative effort. It's the only way we're ever going to see the Great Commission fulfilled is if we all say yes, all of us, not just some of us, not a couple of us, not one of us. It takes each of us saying yes. And that's what's so cool about capital C church. Like we think about it, we tell our church all the time, but it's like, this was never going to be a club of Christians and this place where you just come and, you receive and you get something, and it's about this brand and this building of something internal. You need to understand literally the heart of our church and the mission of our church is know God and make God known together. It's the same mission of ripple effect. Again, these are two different expressions. They're fleshed out differently. But this mission, it's like, it's so much bigger than us. And the only way we're going to accomplish it is together. And that's why I love, we're trying to help our church to understand that this isn't like a comparison or a competing no, it's same team. That's why we are going to continue partnering with other churches. You are going to, hear from other voices. You're going to have, again, it's intentionality on our part of how that's fleshed out, if that makes sense. So
yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, this was literally all so amazing. I feel like it was both encouraging and empowering and convicting and challenging and like, okay, where are areas where we may have to put down some idols and start to remember what is true in that way. So I think that was just so helpful. And I'm glad that, something that was just in your mind and you were like, well, I guess I'll post it, just was able to encourage so many people and just reach so many people in their walk. And because we're all in this together, and we're all navigating human emotions through all of this. So I just thank you again for sharing all of this. And I feel like we could talk about it for hours for sure.
We could. Oh yeah. No, we could for sure. So
maybe you'll have to come to Minnesota and we'll do an in-person part 2 or something like that. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. You guys you need to come here for your winter, and then I can come there for your summer.
There we go.
I can get away from the 120, and then you can come here for our 60 degrees in the winter.
Oh, I mean, it's like 16 degrees outside right now. So
I can imagine. No, seriously, outside right now on our end, our high is 67 right now.
Sounds like a dream. It literally sounds amazing. But
respect. Minnesota, you guys are built different. Respect.
Yeah, we truly are.
I like it.
I won't deny that, but
it's so good.
Well, we'll make sure to, in the show notes and everything, link to your profile and things like that in church. So people can follow along and see all the amazing things that you are doing. But just, anything else before we wrap up here today that you just really want to share that's on your heart?
No, I mean, I think just a final word of encouragement would just be to just move forward. Say yes. Be who it is God's calling you to be. We need you. The church needs you. There is a place for you. And it's just as simple as saying yes. And then you watch God multiply it. You don't make it happen. You just watch him multiply it. And the world's waiting for what you carry. And so you need to give it away. It's time to give it away. It's the final thought that I have. So
I love it. I love it. So good. Well, thank you again for your time and being on here. And we just appreciate you a lot. So thank you.
It's so good to meet you, Mykelti. And thank you again. It's an honor to be here. And you got to give Kristen a hug for me when she comes back from her mission trip. So
I will. Awesome. That's such a fun connection. I love that you guys.
It's awesome. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Small world. That's just how it works.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Bridging the Gap podcast. We were honored to hear from Elise on how the world is waiting for what you carry. You can learn more about Elise and her ministry by visiting rippleeffect.me or by following @Elise Wood or @rippleeffect.me on Instagram. You can also learn more about Bridging the Gap by visiting mnbtg.org or by following @mnbtg on social media. We invite you to take a moment to rate and review this podcast to help others find this resource as well. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to being with you next time on the Bridging the Gap podcast.